Okay, hello everybody. Welcome everyone to AP Studios Dublin. This place that has become very special to me. It's so lovely to be back here today in this room where Home of Light was recorded, because today Home of Light was officially released, completely finished and put out there into the world, and it's a very bittersweet feeling because this album has really been, it's been my life for the past 2 years, really, and it's as busy as it's been, and as much of a kind of a roller coaster it has been in making the album. It has been one of the most special times in my life, and I know that I'm gonna miss this period. So it's really lovely to kind of come back to the studio and to sort of ceremoniously finish the album and leave it out in the world to do whatever it is that it's going to do. So here in Dublin, the sun has set. So I don't know where you're all watching from. I imagine you're watching from different time zones, but here in Dublin the sun has set, which means that it is now the centenary of the passing of Abdul-Baha, which began at sunset and extends to sunset tomorrow night. So this, of course, is a very special night that we've all been preparing ourselves for over the past year, and thinking about, that this night marks exactly 100 years since the night that Abdul-Baha passed away. And so, for tonight's concert, I've called it a concert celebration, but I really want to take a slightly different approach to this concert in honor of Abdul-Baha, and I really hope, I was just thinking about this passage where Abdul-Baha speaks about the sweetest state that a human being can ever be in. He says there is no sweeter state than the state of prayer. And he says man must live in a state of prayer. And I think that in this passage, he has kind of given us a new meaning to the word prayer, that prayer is a kind of a state that we can aspire to, a state of calmness and peacefulness and mindfulness and composure and like, I think, trust that things are unfolding as they should. And, I think there's a great confidence that can come from that state of prayer. And so for tonight's concert, since I can't think of any better word for it, I really want to aspire to that state, to just having an experience here in this room of a state of prayer. And I hope that together, knowing that you're there listening and watching, and Antimo is right here behind the camera, and Aaron is in the control room and preparing the slides, I really hope that together we can share that state of prayer that Abdul-Baha spoke so sweetly about. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just play for about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. I'm going to play a selection of songs from Home of Light, but I really want to try and play them in that state of prayer that Abdul-Baha spoke about, as an opportunity to just remember his life and his words. And in between the songs, I'm going to read some tributes to Abdul-Baha, which were made by people who actually attended his funeral and spoke at his funeral 100 years ago. His funeral, as many of you will know, was quite an extraordinary event when thousands of people descended on Haifa to mourn the loss of this person who really had given them so much, and in many cases had quite literally saved their lives. So I hope that, as we go from song to tribute, from song to tribute, we can just remember that day, that night when Abdul-Baha passed away, and the expressions of love for him at his funeral that followed. So I wanted to begin really just by reading a description of the funeral of Abdul-Baha, just to set the tone of what that day was like, and then I'll move on to the first song, and we'll go through a journey through the songs of Home of Light. So this is a description from H.M. Balyuzi's biography of Abdul-Baha. He writes, "The funeral of Abdul-Baha was indeed a funeral the like of which the Holy Land had never witnessed. The High Commissioner of Palestine, Sir Herbert Samuel, the Governor of Jerusalem, the Governor of Phoenicia, the chief officials of the government, the consuls of the various countries resident in Haifa, the heads of the various religious communities, the notables of Palestine, Jews, Christians, Muslims, Druzes, Egyptians, Greeks, Turks, Kurds, and a host of his American, European, and native friends, men, women, and children, both of high and low degree, all about 10,000 in number, mourning the loss of their beloved one. This impressive, triumphal procession was headed by a guard of honor consisting of the city constabulary force, followed by the Boy Scouts of the Muslim and Christian communities holding aloft their banners, a company of Muslim choristers chanting their verses from the Quran, the chiefs of the Muslim community headed by the Mufti, a number of Christian priests, Latin, Greek, and Anglican, all preceding the sacred coffin upraised on the shoulders of his loved ones. Immediately behind it came the members of his family. Next to them walked the British High Commissioner, the Governor of Jerusalem, and the Governor of Phoenicia. After them came the consuls and the notables of the land, followed by the vast multitude of those who reverenced and loved him. On this day there was no cloud in the sky, nor any sound in all the town and surrounding country through which they went, save only the soft, slow, rhythmic chanting of Islam in the call to prayer, or the convulsed sobbing moan of those helpless ones, bewailing the loss of their one friend who had protected them in all their difficulties and sorrows, whose generous bounty had saved them and their little ones from starvation through the terrible years of the great woe. O God, my God, the people wailed with one accord, our Father has left us, our Father has left us. Oh, the wonder of that great throng, peoples of every religion and race and colour, united in heart through the manifestation of servitude in the lifelong work of Abdul-Baha. As they slowly wended their way up Mount Carmel, the vineyard of God, the casket appeared in the distance to be borne aloft by invisible hands. So high above the heads of the people was it carried. After 2 hours walking, they reached the garden of the tomb of the Bab. Tenderly was the sacred coffin placed upon a plain table, covered with a fair white linen cloth. As the vast concourse pressed round the tabernacle of his body, waiting to be laid in its resting place within the vault next to that of the Bab, representatives of the various denominations, Muslims, Christians, and Jews, all hearts being ablaze with fervent love of Abdul-Baha, some on the impulse of the moment, others prepared, raised their voices in eulogy and regret, paying their last homage of farewell to their loved one. So united were they in their acclamation of him, as the wise educator and reconciler of the human race in this perplexed and sorrowful age, that there seemed to be nothing left for the Baha'is to say. So, before I share with you some of the tributes that those people gave to Abdul-Baha, I want to begin tonight's program really with the ultimate tribute, which is from Baha'u'llah himself. So this is the opening song from the album, Baha'u'llah's tribute to Abdul-Baha. This is called Tablet of the Land of Ba.
Praise be to him who hath honored the land of Baha'i through the presence of him round whom all names revolve. All the atoms of the earth have announced unto all created things that from behind the gate of the prison city there hath appeared, and above its horizon there hath shone forth the orb of the beauty of the great, the most mighty branch of God, his ancient and immutable mystery, proceeding on its way to another land. Sorrow thereby hath enveloped this prison city, whilst another land rejoiceth. Exalted, immeasurably exalted is our Lord, the fashioner of the heavens and the creator of all things. He through whose sovereignty the doors of the prison were opened, thereby causing what was promised aforetime in the tablets to be fulfilled. Blessed, doubly blessed is the ground which his footsteps have trodden, the eye that hath been cheered by the beauty of his countenance, the ear that hath been honored by hearkening to his call, the heart that hath tasted the sweetness of his love, the breast that hath dilated through his remembrance, the pen that hath voiced his praise, the scroll that hath borne the testimony of his writings. We beseech God, blessed and exalted be he, that he may honor us with meeting him soon. He is in truth the all-hearing, the all-powerful, he who is ready to answer, is ready to answer.
something that's particularly touching about the funeral of Abdul-Baha is the fact that he was grieved by people of so many different religions and different backgrounds. They all came to pay tribute to him. So I'd like to share with you some words of the first speaker, who was a well-known Muslim orator called Yusuf al-Khatib. And he said to the crowd gathered, he said, "O concourse of Arabians and Persians, whom are ye bewailing? Is it he who but yesterday was great in his life, and is today in his death greater still? Shed no tears for the one that hath departed to the world of eternity, but weep over the passing of virtue and wisdom, of knowledge and generosity. Lament for yourselves, for yours is the loss, whilst he, your lost one, is but a revered wayfarer, stepping from your mortal world into the everlasting home. Weep 1 hour for the sake of him who for well nigh 80 years hath wept for you. Look to your right, look to your left, look east and look west, and behold what glory and greatness have vanished, what a pillar of peace hath crumbled, what eloquent lips are hushed. Alas, in this tribulation there is no heart but aches with anguish, no eye but is filled with tears. Woe unto the poor, for lo, goodness hath departed from them. Woe unto the orphans, for their loving father is no more with them." Could the life of Sir Abdul-Baha Abbas have been redeemed by the sacrifices of many a precious soul, they of a certainty would gladly have offered up their lives for his life. But fate hath otherwise ordained. Every destiny is predetermined, and none can change the divine decree. What am I to set forth the achievements of this leader of mankind? They are too glorious to be praised, too many to recount. Suffice it to say that he has left in every heart the most profound impression, on every tongue most wondrous praise. And he that leaveth a memory so lovely, so imperishable, he indeed is not dead. Be solaced then, O ye people of Baha. Endure and be patient, for no man, be he of the east or of the west, can ever comfort you. Nay, he himself is even in greater need of consolation. Indeed, the poor, lamenting their plight, were saying one to the other, "What will happen to us now? Who will look after us now?"
O Holy Lord, O Lord of loving kindness, we stray about thy dwelling, longing to behold thy beauty, and loving all thy ways. We come with no provision but our sins, with no good deeds to tell of, only hopes, unless thy concealing veil doth cover us, and thy protection shield and cradle us. What power have these helpless souls to rise and serve thee? What substance have these wretched ones to make a brave display? Whatever we are, still are we thine, and what we speak and hear is praise of thee, and it is thy face we seek, thy path we follow. Thou art the Lord of loving kindness. We are sinners and astray and far from home. Withered as we are, revive us with showers from thy clouds of grace. Lowly as we are, illumine us with bright rays. From the day star of thy oneness, wherefore, O cloud of mercy, grant us some drops of rain. O flowering bed of grace, send forth a fragrant breeze. O sea of all bestowals, roll towards us a great wave. O Son of bounty, send down a shaft of light. Whatever we are, still are we thine, and what we speak and hear is praise of thee. Whatever we are, still are we thine, and what we speak and hear is praise of thee, and it is thy face we seek, thy path we follow. Thou art the Lord of loving kindness. We are sinners and astray and far from home.
So the next speech that was given at Abdul-Baha's funeral was from a Christian writer, which is very touching. His name was Ibrahim Nasser. And he stood up and he said, I weep for the world, in that my Lord hath died. Others there are who like unto me weep the death of their Lord. Oh, bitter is the anguish caused by this heart-rending calamity. It is not only our country's loss, but a world affliction. He hath lived for well nigh 80 years the life of the messengers and apostles of God. He hath educated the souls of men, hath been benevolent unto them, hath led them to the way of truth. Thus he raised his people to the pinnacle of glory, and great shall be his reward from God, the reward of the righteous. Hear me, O people, Abbas is not dead, neither hath the light of Baha been extinguished. Nay, this light shall shine with everlasting splendour. The lamp of Baha, Abbas, hath lived a goodly life, hath manifested in himself the true life of the Spirit. And now he is gathered to glory, a pure angel, richly robed in benevolent deeds, noble in his precious virtues. Fellow Christians, truly ye are bearing the mortal remains of this ever-lamented one to his last resting place. Yet know of a certainty that your Abbas will live forever in spirit amongst you through his deeds, his words, his virtues, and all the essence of his life. We say farewell to the material body of our Abbas, and his material body vanisheth from our gaze. But his reality, our spiritual Abbas, will never leave our minds, our thoughts, our hearts, O tongues. O great revered sleeper, thou hast been good to us, thou hast guided us, thou hast taught us, thou hast lived amongst us greatly with the full meaning of greatness. Thou hast made us proud of thy deeds and of thy words. Thou hast raised the Orient to the summit of glory, hast shown loving kindness to the people, trained them in righteousness, and hast striven to the end till thou hast won the crown of glory. Rest thou happily under the shadow of the mercy of the Lord thy God, and he verily shall reward thee. So, just while touching on this Christian speaker at Abdul-Baha's funeral, I thought it would be nice to include in tonight's program a song from Home of Light that is based on a tablet that Abdul-Baha wrote for another Christian who became a Baha'i and just fell in love with Abdul-Baha, and his name was Thomas Breakwell. And after Thomas Breakwell passed away, as a very young man, I'm sure many of you know the story, Abdul-Baha wrote this beautiful tablet in his honor, expressing so much love. And it was such a beautiful example of Abdul-Baha's really all-embracing, world-embracing, universal love that that he showed for people close to home and people even on the other side of the world. So this song is Abdul-Baha's tablet to Thomas Breakwell, and it's called Breakwell, My Dear One. I'm just going to get my capo.
Oh, Breakwell, oh, my dear one, where now is thy fair face? Where is thy fluent tongue? Oh, Breakwell, my dear one, wear thy clear brow, wear thy bright comeliness. Where is thy fire, blazing with God's love? Where is thy rapture at his holy breath? Where are thy praises lifted unto him? Where is thy rising up to serve his cause? O Breakwell, O my dear one, where are thy beauteous eyes, thy smiling lips, the princely cheek, the graceful form? O Breakwell, O my dear one, thou hast reached unto the grace of the invisible realm, and offered thyself at the threshold of its Lord. O Breakwell, O my dear one, O Breakwell, O my dear one, thou hast left the land that was thy body here, the glass that was thy human form, thy earthly elements, thy way of life below. O Breakwell, O my dear one, thou hast lit a flame in the lamp of the company on high. Thou hast set foot in the Abha paradise. Thou hast found a shelter in the shadow of the blessed tree. Thou hast attained his meeting in the haven of heaven. Thou art become a star in the supernal sky, and a lamp amid the angels of high heaven, a living spirit in the most exalted kingdom, throned in eternity. O Breakwell, my dear one, I ask of God to draw thee ever closer. I ask of God to hold thee ever faster, to rejoice thy heart with nearness to his presence. I shall never forget thee, Breakwell, my dear one. I shall never forget thee, Breakwell, my dear one. I shall never forget thee, Breakwell, my dear one.
Okay, so one of the following speakers was from the Jewish community of Haifa. His name was Solomon Bozaglo, and he gave the following tribute to the crowd at Abdul-Baha's funeral. He said, "It is indeed strange that in an age of gross materialism and lack of faith, a great philosopher such as he whom we mourn, Abdul-Baha Abbas, should appear. He speaks to our hearts, our consciences. He satisfies our thirsty souls with teachings and principles that are the basis of all religion and morality. In his writings and public talks, and in his intimate conversations, he could always convince the most learned and the most orthodox. His life was the living example of self-sacrifice, of preferring the good of others to one's own. The philosophy of Abdul-Baha is simple and plain, yet sublime. It accords with human character. Its virtues overcome prejudice and superstition. Abbas has passed away in Haifa, in Palestine, in the Holy Land, wherein prophets have always appeared. The ancient glory of this land is restored. We are not the only ones who weep for him in whom we take pride. In Europe, in America, in every country, people athirst for social justice and brotherhood also weep for him. He suffered from despotism, fanaticism, and intolerance. For decades, Akka, the Bastille of the Ottomans, held him a prisoner. Baghdad, the Abbasid capital, also served as a prison for him and for his father. Persia, the ancient cradle of divine philosophy, threw out her children, whose ideas were conceived in her land. Cannot we witness the manifestation of divine will to exalt the Holy Land, that it become once again the cradle of noble and generous ideals? He who has left such a glorious heritage is not dead. He who has promulgated such great principles is immortal in the memory of posterity. So I'm going to do one more song on the guitar, and then I'm going to move back to the piano for the rest. This is from another letter that Abdul-Baha wrote to a young woman in the West, and this is called Rely Upon God.
Rely upon God, trust in Him, praise Him, and call Him continually to mind. He verily turneth trouble into ease, and sorrow into solace, and toil into utter peace. He verily hath dominion over all things. He verily hath dominion over all things. praise him and call him continually to mind. He verily turneth trouble into ease, and sorrow into solace, and toil into utter peace. He verily hath dominion over all things. He verily hath dominion over all things. Upon God.
So Abdul-Baha's life had really affected people of all ages, young and old. And in the course of the speeches at his funeral, some of the youth from the region were asked to say a few words. And a local young Christian boy wrote a poem about Abdul-Baha. And so he stood up at the funeral and he shared, these are just a few lines from his poem. He said, "In the souls and in the minds, thou art immortal. One like thee, who has all perfections, virtues, and honours, is eternal. O Abdul-Baha, O son of Baha'u'llah, may my life be a sacrifice to one like thee. Thou art the all-wise, and all else beside thee are only learned. What can the poets say in thy day? O Abdul-Baha, O son of Baha'u'llah, thou wert just as God wanted thee to be, and not as others wished. Thou hast departed in the Holy Land, wherein Christ and the Virgin Mary lived, the land that received Muhammad, the land the dust of which is blessing and wealth. We shall be sustained by this tomb and the one it contains. The covenant of love and devotion will remain forever between us." This next piece is another tribute from Baha'u'llah to Abdul-Baha. And this is really like it's almost like a love letter from father to son. This is called Apple of Mine Eye.
O thou who art the apple of mine eye, O thou who art the apple of mine eye, my glory, the ocean of my loving kindness, the sun of my bounty, the heaven of my mercy, rest upon thee. We pray, God, to illumine the world through thy knowledge and wisdom, to ordain for thee that which will gladden thine heart and impart consolation to thine eyes. We have made thee a shelter for all mankind, a shield unto all who are in heaven and on earth. We have made thee a shelter for all mankind, a shield unto all who are in heaven and on earth. O thou who art the apple of mine eye, O thou who art the apple of mine eye, O thou who art
So these next few words were actually spoken at one of the many memorial gatherings that were held in the wake of Abdul-Baha's passing. After his funeral, feasts were given, the poor were fed, people gathered in the hundreds and thousands, really for weeks afterwards, to remember Abdul-Baha and to share their memories of him. And one of those, who was the governor of Phoenicia during those days after his funeral, left the following words. He described Abdul-Baha as a voice summoning mankind to love, to unity and to peace, a voice the source whereof, had it been anything but purity of motive, could in no wise have succeeded in sending its waves with the swiftness of lightning throughout the world. Most of us here have, I think, a clear picture of Sir Abdul-Baha Abbas, of his dignified figure walking thoughtfully in our streets, of his courteous and gracious manner, of his kindness, his love for little children and flowers, of his generosity and care for the poor and suffering. So gentle was he, and so simple, that in his presence one almost forgot that he was also a great teacher, and that his writings and his conversations have been a solace and an inspiration to hundreds and thousands of people in the East and in the West. So I know that we're coming up on about an hour already. The time has flown by, and it's been such a pleasure to play these songs, because most of these songs I didn't play at all during the year, because I wanted to just give them each their moment for the studio recordings to be released. But of course, now that they're all released, it feels like a real privilege to finally sit down and play them. And it's lovely to play them with piano and guitar, but at this stage, I really wish that everyone could be here. I wish Xiao An could be here from Singapore and be conducting an orchestra along with the songs. I wish that all the musicians, Cora, Vivian, Emily, Kate, Patrick, Ian, Georgie, Marco, I wish that they could all be here to play these songs together, because they all really contributed so much to the album. And as well as the musicians, of course, Home of Light would not be what it is without the really incredible team of producers that produced the album. Antimo, firstly, behind the camera there, and Xiao An, who produced remotely from Singapore. And I know you've all been so touched by his string arrangements, as have I. And of course, Kelly in Portland, who did the final stretch of production and mixing and editing, and really just fine-tuned everything so masterfully. And it's been such an absolute privilege to work with all of them, to work with all of you. This album has been such a blessing for me to work on. I'm so grateful to have been able to have made it, and it really couldn't have been made without the support of all my patrons and supporters around the world. And it really is, really is our album, because as Baha'u'llah said in the Hidden Words, results depend upon means. And of course, without the means that you have given to make this album, there would be no album, there would be no results. So I really genuinely feel that we have all made this album together as our tribute to Abdul-Baha during this special year. So I'm going to finish with one more piece. It is the Tablet of Visitation of Abdul-Baha. And before I play this piece, I'm going to read for you one last tribute written by Shoghi Effendi and Lady Blomfield, who wrote this tribute together. And I really, naturally, just during the process of making this album, I've just found myself thinking a lot about about these words of Abdul-Baha. And you know, this tablet of visitation, I really feel like it is the final expression of Abdul-Baha's ultimate aspiration for himself. It is his own prayer, but also for all of us. And I think that is ultimately to aspire to be humble and selfless and loving, and to be servants of humanity and servants of God. And for Abdul-Baha, those two things were one and the same. And I always think that, you know, this tablet of visitation, since it's so closely associated with Abdul-Baha's passing, it's often read in his shrine, I always feel like these words are like the closing, final words of the heroic age of the Baha'i faith, and the opening words of the formative age in which we now live. Because, of course, with Abdul-Baha's passing, we're also marking 100 years of the beginning of the ministry of Shoghi Effendi and the whole administrative order of the Baha'i faith, and the process of building what Baha'u'llah and Abdul-Baha gave us. So these words, really, I always think of them as the closing words of Abdul-Baha's age, and the opening words of the age that we all live in. So I hope you enjoy it. And before I sing this one, I'm just going to read you these words of Shoghi Effendi and Lady Blomfield about the passing of Abdul-Baha. The eyes that had always looked out with loving kindness upon humanity, whether friends or foes, were now closed. The hands that had ever been stretched forth to give alms to the poor and the needy, the halt and the maimed, the blind, the orphan and the widow, had now finished their labour. The feet that with untiring zeal had gone upon the ceaseless errands of the Lord of compassion were now at rest. The lips that had so eloquently championed the cause of the suffering sons of men were now hushed in silence. The heart that had so powerfully throbbed with wondrous love for the children of God was now stilled. His glorious spirit had passed from the life of earth, from the persecutions of the enemies of righteousness, from the storm and stress of well-nigh 80 years of indefatigable toil for the good of others. Whoso reciteth this prayer with lowliness and fervor will bring gladness and joy to the heart of this servant. It will be even as meeting him face to face. The all glorious, O God, my
I raise my suppliant hands to Thee, and cover my face in the dust of that threshold of Thine, exalted above the knowledge of the learned, and the praise of all that glorify Thee. Graciously look upon Thy servant, humble and lowly at Thy door, with the glances of the eye of Thy mercy, and immerse him in the ocean of Thine eternal grace. Lord, he is a poor and lowly servant of Thine, enthralled and imploring Thee, captive in Thy hand, praying fervently to Thee, trusting in Thee in tears before Thy face, calling to Thee and beseeching Thee, saying, O Lord my God, O Lord my God, O Lord my God, give me Thy grace to serve Thy loved ones, strengthen me in my servitude to Thee. Illumine my brow with the light of adoration in Thy court of holiness, and of prayer to Thy kingdom of grandeur. Help me to be selfless at the heavenly entrance of Thy gate, and aid me to be detached from all things within Thy holy precincts, Thy holy precincts, Lord. Give me to drink from the chalice of selflessness, with its robe clothe me, and in its ocean immerse me. Make me as dust in the pathway of Thy loved ones. and grant that I may offer up my soul for the earth ennobled by the footsteps of thy chosen ones in thy path, O Lord of glory, in the highest. With this prayer doth thy servant call thee at dawn tide, and in the night season fulfill his heart's desire. O Lord, illumine his heart, gladden his bosom, kindle his light, that he may serve thy cause and thy servants. Thou art the bestower, the pitiful, the most bountiful. Thou art the gracious, the merciful, the compassionate. Thou art the bestower, the pitiful, the most bountiful. Thou art the gracious, the merciful, the compassionate. Thou art the bestower, the pitiful, the most bountiful. Thou art the gracious, the merciful, the compassionate.
Okay, so thank you all again for joining me at this this commemoration of the centenary of the passing of Abdul-Baha, and it really has been such a privilege to play these songs live for you. I hope that someday when I'm back on tour I can come and see you all in your respective countries, and we can get together in person in a room and have some music and prayers and conversation together. I really miss that, and I look forward to when that door opens again. But I hope that this program has been, I hope it has helped to bring you into that state of prayer that Abdul-Baha wished for us all to live in, that state of peace and mindfulness and trust in God. So once again, thank you to all my patrons, to all my supporters who have made this album with me, and to the whole team who worked so hard to work on this album and finish it in time for the centenary. Really, it's I've been in awe at how hard the whole team has worked to make this happen. And, you know, I mentioned all the musicians and producers and engineers earlier, but I also want to give a special thanks to Shireen Sahba, who painted, as you've all seen, this absolutely beautiful painting for the cover of the album. And I just think it couldn't be more perfect. You know, when I look at the little home of light that she painted on the front cover, I just get such a feeling of like home and comfort and light from it. And I'm sure you're all experiencing something similar when you look at Shireen's painting. So Shireen, if you're watching, please know your work is so deeply appreciated by everybody who lays their eyes on it. I also want to thank Jamie Hanrahan, our graphic designer, who took Shireen's painting and like just absolutely marvelously crafted it into the actual design of the album cover and the face of the CD and all of the little booklet that goes with the CD. Jamie, you know, put a lot of work into getting every little line just right, and so huge thanks to Jamie as well. And of course, I want to thank our mastering engineers, Simon and Bill, over at Super Audio Mastering in England, who really also just put so much care and attention into putting the final details of mastering to make the album really shine as it was intended. So Simon and Bill, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, please know that your work is appreciated by all who hear it. So I hope I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. I'm just I'm going through the list of credits in the booklet, and I hope I've mentioned everybody. I want to also just say thank you to Rian over at the Meadow Studio, who did our very first pre-production session. It was I don't know if I mentioned to any of you before, but Xiaoan and I only actually met once, because funnily enough, Xiaoan was living in Ireland temporarily in the middle of last year, and just when I came back home from America, Xiaoan was still living here, and we managed to meet for just one day to do our first day of pre-production together on the album at the Meadow Studio down in Wicklow. And we worked together for a day, and then immediately Xiaoan had to go back to Singapore, and from that time onwards we spent the following year and a half, following almost a year and a half working on the album remotely, back and forth between Dublin and Singapore. So yeah, it's really been an incredible privilege to watch people like Xiaoan and Antimo and Kelly and all the musicians work so hard to make this album. And I hope if you signed up for the gift CD, I hope that you've received it. If not, don't worry, it's in the mail. They're all in the mail by now, so they're on their way to you. To close tonight's program, I really just want to say the most special thanks to my parents, Susan and Jerry, without whom the album wouldn't have been made at all, because they are my joint number one supporters, and none of this music would exist without them. So, Mom, Dad, I love you both, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. The album is dedicated to you. So that's all, and I wish you all a really blessed Centenary commemoration, and I hope to see you someday on tour in your country. Thank you all for watching, and thank you again to Antimo for making this live stream program possible tonight. Bye for now.